for my son. He's going to Sacramento College.
He what?
He's going to Sacramento State College.
It really?
Yeah.
Why?
He at Arizona or Sacramento. He decided to go to Sacramento. So
Have you ever been in Sacramento much?
several times.
Huh?
There's areas up there you want to avoid.
Well, no, I don't mean that. I mean the weather in Sacramento. I mean, California's supposed to be nice, but Sacramento's in the hot, humid Delta.
I
And
know.
it's like,
I used to work there a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I spent time there. Unfortunately.
Some places are better than others. That's all.
Yeah, it's not like California better than Kansas.
Some of it is. Some of California is wonderful.
Kathleen, is Robert your brother?
Robert is my cousin, my first cousin.
Your cousin?
We-
Okay, and Jim Dean, are you related to Robert?
Yeah, I'm Robert's older brother. Actually, I
Okay.
know him as Bobby, not Robert.
Thanks for that information, because Bobby sounds so nice.
David, I know where you live.
Yeah, but you can't walk here.
I have friends. Friends.
Well, I've got friends in high places too.
Or is it low places?
Yeah, but David's by low places.
Oh, it depends on how bad their ataxia is.
Robert, I had a discussion with a colleague in Florida one time, and that kind of a
Hi, Joel.
exchange took place. And so he calls out, he says, "How far is it from here to Chicago?" And somebody said, 1,700 miles. He yells, "Range 1,700."
Kathleen, I'm very interested to hear about your story or how you got into this wonderful aquatic healing.
Well, the aquatic therapy is a whole different, it's not really appreciated in the United States very much. And I actually studied some in Russia and Germany to get the full range of possibilities with it. And I've been doing it now for, well, since 1997. And I have my own pool. I had my own pool in my basement for 15 years. And now I have it in a yurt for the last 10 years.
Nice.
Yeah, so I keep it at 95 degrees all the time, and it's the right height and the right everything, and it's worked out really well. And we've had just absolute miracles happen.
The last time that Kathleen and I spoke was in 2005 at my dad's funeral. She talked about this then. Then she was on the phone with my mom's birthday party, and at that point we started talking more and more. And she helped me put together all the information for the history of the PEMF and Ataxia. A lot of photos came from her. She's the oldest grandchild in our generation, so she has more knowledge about everything.
Plus my mother, everything was kind of handed down to her. And then before she passed, she gave me all the photos and all the history. And plus I gave her and my dad a massage once or twice a week, or worked in the water with them for 21 years. And it gave them a lot of time to tell me every freaking story that ever existed in our family way too many times.
As a good daughter, I wish my daughter would do that.
So anyway, yeah, I have a lot of history for anything that you'd like to know about it.
Wonderful. So do you have classes in your yurt?
I have had classes in my yurt. So I'm 77 now, and I've got two granddaughters that they lost their mother in December. So I'm back raising grandchildren, and I have two full-time businesses. So doing classes has really become impossible. I don't mind if people rent the pool and several of them come in to use it together. And most of them have already been doing different arthritis and aquatic classes. And so they just teach each other what they know. But I've had to let that part go because I just don't have enough time. But I taught over 4,000 classes when I was teaching.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a lot there. And it was hard to get them off of the arthritis training classes because that's all they knew and that's all they wanted to do. So each week or each month, I would introduce them some new kind of Tai Chi moves. And we just do it kind of for fun at the end until finally, after about 4 months, I said, you know what? The Tai Chi moves are way better. Let's forget the arthritis classes. And that's not a small thing to be able to do to people in Missouri because they're pretty stuck in their ways.
Yeah, I never,
Is your pool a saltwater pool?
No, it's a regular chlorine. It's only a 12-foot pool. And I've been working with the same company from the very beginning. And they said if I tried to go with other things, it would be harder to control. If I use salt, I would end up with too much chlorine quickly because it's only 12 foot. They said, your numbers are always perfect. It's taken you 25 years to get here. Don't mess with success. So I'm like, okay.
It
So
sounds like you've thought about going to salt.
Oh, I've looked at everything, you know, ultraviolet, whatever, and all different ways. And I just keep coming back to a little bit of chlorine more than does it. Yeah.
I had not considered doing Tai Chi in a pool. I've tried Tai Chi in a studio, but I lose my balance really easily. But with the pool, the water would hold you up. It's really brilliant.
Well, if you do Tai Chi on the land, you're working against gravity. When you do it in the water, you're working against buoyancy. So it turns out that they both perfectly balance each other and you make your muscles stronger in all directions, if you know what I'm saying. Now, I worked way too much in the water and I began to lose a lot of bone mass. My
Oh,
muscles are like whales, really strong. I can pick up and do anything. But if you don't have bones to keep walking, you know, it's a little inconvenient. So I did end up with a lot of broken toes and, you know, the finer bones of mine started deteriorating after 10 years of, I mean, I gave 10,000 Watsus in 10 years. And that was just, I love the work so much I couldn't say no. But I finally had to back off because I had to rebuild myself.
How did you rebuild your bone?
I used a T-zone, a power plate. That's what the Russians created. You know, we were both going into outer space at the same time. And when they would land, their astronauts would run down the field. And when we landed, they were brought off on gurneys because, again, they had such loss. But the Russians figured out right away that if you like use the jackhammer every day, your bones will be fine. But I wasn't going to get a jackhammer to do that. So I found this power plate and it jiggled the whole body and it rebuilt my bones.
what is a power plate? I don't mean to be ignorant.
I'm sorry, what?
What is a power plate?
It is, well, it's a plate that you stand on and you can sit on, or you can even lay on it. I used to sell them for like $2,200 and people would make like, I don't know, a $96 a month payment for 18 months interest free. But now Amazon sells them for $250. So I haven't sold them for years because Amazon is a great, great deal. And the thing about the T-zone, because it's so powerful and it will rebuild your bones and it will rebuild your muscles, is that you can't do it more than 10 minutes every day, every other day. You have to give your body a whole day to recover from that kind of workout. But it's so easy. I mean, you don't feel well, so you sit on it. You know, you don't want to stand up, or you kneel on it, or you sit in a chair and you just put your feet on it. It's what I need to do is take this down and show you using the T-zone, and then you'll all understand because it's so simple.
Is it vibrating or is it doing something wonderful to your bones and your muscles?
Oh, it's doing something wonderful to your whole body and especially your brain. I mean, people find that they're thinking clearer, they're be performing as they did when they were younger. I mean, it's really like a whole land rest. I mean, I think the water is the best of all but you can do anything to an extreme, and I typically do things to an extreme. So it is, it's a great balance. You need both. You
What's
really need.
what's that thing called that you use that for work on your T-zone? What is it called? So I can look it up, look at it.
Well, the one that I was selling comes from Canada, and it's not for sale on Amazon, but Amazon.
I just want to see what it looked like.
Oh, you want to see what it looks like?
Yeah. So if you tell me what it's called, I can search it.
Google. Yeah, Google
Well,
it.
I mean, the vernacular here in America is power plate.
Okay.
I think that's the main thing that it's called. But
Okay.
I can put information. I think I may have it on my website about the power plate. And I've got like 10 pages of research that will knock your socks off. It's just unbelievable how good it is, because the Russians have been doing this for so long. You know, they were like 20 years ahead of us.
Okay, I see it.
Oh, good. And so some come with bars, some come without bars. If it doesn't have bars, then you can lay on it anyway. And, you know, but you can't stand on it because you really need to have the bars for balance. So I would recommend for all you guys, you want to get the ones with the bars. They're much more stable that way.
Okay.
Kathleen, can you send me that, I guess whatever it is you're just trying to describe through email, and then I can pass it out to everybody?
Sure. I mean, I can send to all of you the article that I have on T-Zone that includes, it's like 10 pages of research.
Okay. Okay. That sounds good.
So can I just send it? Let's see. Are you Susan? So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll take care of it from there, right?
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Perfect.
Sounds really interesting.
Yeah. I'll try to get that out to you tonight.
Huh.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a gatekeeper.
Thank you.
So you just stand on it and kind of, or sit on or whatever, just kind of vibrates you a little bit. Like the jackhammer, like you said.
I have one of the most amazing stories. So I had this woman in her 60s come in, and she was in a wheelchair, and she'd been in a wheelchair maybe about, I don't know, 6 years. And, you know, she was in a lot of pain because she couldn't move much or anything. And her husband had been in construction all of his life. So he had been pretty beat up as well. And he would roll her in, and everything is handicap accessible. So they were able to just come right in and go right to the T-zone. And we put her feet on the T-zone. And I turned it on, and she said, oh my goodness, I feel this vibration all the way up to my hips. My legs are feeling all this. My feet are feeling it. And she was so thrilled. And I thought, you know, I don't want to overdo it on the first time because I'm pretty good at overdoing. So I said, well, just go home and be with us for a week. Come back in a week and we'll see how you're doing. But having a week rest after what we just did probably isn't too much. And so she said, okay. And so she came back a week later and said, oh, I want to do that again. And I just felt so much better. And I slept better at night, and my legs weren't bothering me at all. And I said, well, we want to reach more than just your legs, but that's a great place to start, legs and feet. So anyway, we did the legs and feet for maybe half the time. And then I had this big fat pillow on it. And I had her husband swing her off the chair and have her sit on the T-zone. And I turned it on, and she's like, oh, now I feel it from my hips to my head. Oh my God. So she was thrilled. She came in doing that for about a month. And I said to her husband, you know, you need this at home. And I bet if you had it at home, you would use it too, and you would feel better. He was too embarrassed. He wouldn't do it at my house. I don't care. That's fine. Anyway, they did end up buying one. And I ran into him about 6 months later in Trader Joe's. And I said, how's your wife doing now? He said, oh, well, she graduated out of the wheelchair, onto a walker, out of the walker, onto a cane. And most of the time she doesn't need anything anymore. That was 6 months.
Wow.
She told me, she said, every time I go to the doctor and I tell them all problems, they're just like wanting to give me pills, or just, oh, you're going to be okay. They never, ever help me. They never seem to hear me. And she said, I'm really clear that you understand and that you've got some good tools. And that was, and actually in the beginning, I sent her home with something called the Genie Rub, and it just shakes the body. And I told them, I said, borrow this for 2 weeks. And I told her, I said, use it on your husband. He can use it on you wherever you've got pain and stuck energy. And then we'll talk later about the T-zone. And so then they graduated up to the T-zone and voila, better, better, better.
Wow, that's kind of like what I went to the doctor and like, well, I can only give you like I can't remember what kind of, like a narcotic. I'm like, yeah, I only give you this for pain. I'm like, I'm not taking any of that. I'm not in any pain.
Yes.
Why do I want to take something, an opioid where I can get addicted? I'm like, no, thanks.
Yes, yes.
So Kathleen, does it clear the chakras?
It clears everything. I mean, and I think for a lot of people that show up here, especially people that have been stuck like in a wheelchair or are in a lot of pain, I mean, their whole spiritual system is like shut down. They're not their usual person before all this happened. And you introduce them to some of this and it starts coming back and voila, the whole body begins to open again.
Wow.
Really amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
So it's a certain vibration.
Well, there's some of them that only go up to 50, which is fine. And the small one that I have is a travel one and that only goes to 50. So, but I've had 2 or 3 ones that go to 100 or 99 and everybody's just wore them out and I'm not going to buy any more because they're not, the ones I was buying for 2,200, it wasn't cheap, you know. But anyway, now I've got more things and I just don't have room for another one. So we're just riding the one that only goes to 50 and it's great. So what I tell people is if finances are an issue and how fast it's going, you know, you can get all you need with only 50. Why pay more to go to 99? And if you think in a year you're ready for 99, then sell the small one that you have and get a bigger one. You know, there's ways to do this, you know, that.
Kathleen, has anybody ever tried to see if Medicare pays for it?
Because the stuff that I was using came from Canada, it was pretty clear that wasn't going to happen. But I think if you're a chiropractor and if you have some of these machines, it could be, but I'm not licensed like that.
So Kathleen, I don't mean to be so hard-headed about this, but the 50 and the 90, is it like megahertz? Is it watts? Is it what is the basis?
I'd have to look, I'd have to get my booklet out. I deal with so much electrical stuff. I don't know. I don't remember specifically, but it'll probably be in the material that you get this evening.
Okay.
Kathleen, can you introduce yourself, tell everybody about your background and everything so everybody understands what you've been doing for years, please?
Okay, so I began as a massage therapist, and that was a handy thing to be because my parents were getting older and they didn't want to see anybody but me. So that was fine. You know, I worked on them for years, and then I read about the aquatic therapy, and it was just like a magnet for me. And so I went to California. I went to Harbin Hot Springs, and I studied there, and was so in love with everything that I learned in giving massage. I had to like throw out so that I could work in the water, because on land, man, I got a real bony elbow. You got something stuck, I'm gonna unstuck it. And I had no problem going in there and working on guys and football players and everything and just moving all kinds of energy. And they were amazed for somebody as little and old as I am. I could pack so much power. But when you're working in the water, you're working with buoyancy, and how the people will relax more deeply is lighter, lighter, lighter. So while you're holding them, you need to be thinking in your mind, how can I still be lighter, more gentle, more easily? Because the body just goes deeply into an altered state and it resets itself. While you're holding them and taking them around, you can see the foot flip up or an elbow come out or something, because the body is actually resetting itself. I'm not in there digging, digging, digging. And I also discovered when I was doing cranial sacral work that as I was holding their neck or holding different areas where we're trying to get a lot of energy in there to move it, that, oh heck, I just saw somebody on my trampoline. I thought, where was I going with this? Okay, well, I'm sure it'll come back. But it's all about, so it seems like the opposite I mean, football players would come in and want me to dig away on them, which I could do. But then if I got them in the water and worked on them in the water, they would call back, or their wives would call back and go, they've never, ever had any release like you did for them in the water. And what I would find is that people would have a lot of emotional issues also. And can I address the emotional issues while we're in the water doing this? Well, typically you do it in silence, but I'll tell them, you know what, you're going to fall into a very gentle, really sacred place while I'm working on you. So those issues, if you can remember what they are, take them in and like just let your body kind of direct you first, second, third. Maybe it's your guardian angel, maybe it's Jesus, maybe it's Buddha. I don't care, but see if you can get some answers from the connections coming from your inside. And every single time people would fall into that state and they would take their issues inside. And then when I put them back against the side and I'd say, well, how did everything go? They said, you know what? All my issues counted for a 0. It didn't matter. I was getting better. I was going to continue to get better. And that's all that counted. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Robert, is that your doggy doorbell?
I wish it was. No, my dog's downstairs.
Okay. Just wondered.
I think also, Kelly, if you could talk about your knowledge of Ataxia and what you've done with the family, with Aunt Pat and all that.
Yes, well, I worked with Aunt Pat for many years, and she, of course, she's the last remaining of that generation with Ataxia. And I was able to take her down to Mississippi when they had the big international conference there, maybe 10 or 15 years ago. And on the last night, I was sitting next to the doctor who was in charge of worldwide ataxia. And he was from Italy. He was an Italian, but he was living in Canada because that was the center of it for that time period. And we were all meeting in Mississippi. So I started telling him about our ataxia and how it came into the family and how we've been responding and how late we finally start manifesting. And he said, I have never heard of any family manifesting like your family does with ataxia. He said, I want your aunt's blood. I want your blood. I want as many people's blood as I can get from your family. This is amazing. And I said, well, I think, this is just my own opinion, that the reason it changed manifestation is because we had a Native American that was married into the family during the Trail of Tears. Our great-great-great-great-grandfather's wife, who had just given birth to her 7th child, died. And she had 7 kids under 17 years of age, and he had to find someone to take care of the family. And the Native Americans, the Cherokees, were walking through. And I don't know if he bought her, if she was too sick to go on. She was only 19 years old. But anyway, he married her, and then they had 3 children, and the son of hers became our great-great-grandfather. So I think bringing in a different race gave us DNA. It did a lot to weaken the injuries of our DNA. You know, it made it stronger. So we were very blessed by that. But back then, you didn't tell anybody you had an Indian blood or black blood, because that was, 200 years ago. That just didn't look right. So. And that's also the reason that they would look forward to their yearly family meetings to see all their relatives, because it was a small community. They didn't get out much, and they intermarried. So it was the intermarriage that brought about the ataxia, because 2 brothers married 2 sisters, and their children married each other. And it's their children that it came through on us. But we also at the same time had the Native American coming in. So how amazing is that?
That's when we were talking about how the grandpa's brother or Dean possibly married a first or second cousin, and they had like 8 kids. So it goes back to what she was saying, is like that could be part of the problem that's going on even worse.
Well, and we were all Catholics, so we all had big families, and we manifested late. So we didn't know we carried this gene. And we just kept passing it on to every generation for 5 generations. I mean, that's a heck of a lot. And he also said that it's a recessive gene. I said, if you look at our family history, it does not look recessive. It looks dominant. It shows up and shows up and shows up. And so that's why they were very interested in getting our blood.
That's why right now I'm the only one of 7 that's showing any signs yet. So
And
Jim's,
your dad didn't manifest it until after your mom had all the kids.
right.
Yeah.
And Jim's even older than I am. You could tell by his gray hair. But he's doing fine. Honestly with you, he takes care of mom and everything right now. So he's doing a lot without.
That is beautiful. It's wonderful.
Just to have hair.
I have a hat.
Kathleen, I understand this to be definitely a physical manifestation of a gene that went haywire somewhere along the line. A good friend of mine is a not Latter-day Saints, Jesus Christ of she believes, and if you believe enough, you will not have disease. She said, you don't have ataxia, Betty. She said, if you just believe enough, it will not become full-blown ataxia. And that's really hard. I don't know if anybody else has a holy roller friend that just said, if you believe enough, you will not have this.
Well, I wish that faith was really sufficient. The problem is that we are still a pretty baby growth here on the planet. I mean, our potential is galactic. It's huge. There's so much more we can do, but we haven't figured all that out yet. And we can be gifted with more of the insights if we understand that it's there and how do we reach it. It's just like when I take people in the pool and I say, address all your issues, then they come out and go, man, I don't have any. I am absolutely in joy and ecstasy. And how do they act for the next week or two? In joy and ecstasy. That overcomes a whole lot.
Yeah.
But if we're patient and kind with each other and understanding we're still growing and there's so much more that we can grow into.
People can get fanatical with just about anything, but as far as people with religion denying diseases, they have 3 or 4 people like that in this state in jail for 15 years because their faith killed their children twice. Wow. And they finally put them in jail for 15 years and took away their children.
Wow.
And I guess they still believe. There's a whole church like that, and there's another whole community in Southern Oregon that they're anti-vaxxers and all that stuff. The whole community is. So it's just, I guess you can't fix stupid.
Yes, absolutely.
I have talked for a while about I have a full backyard, about how I go underwater, my head is not dizzy. It seems I can stand on my head underwater. My wife will look at the window, she can see my feet out of the water. So I talked to Kathleen about it, and she explained to me again. She mentioned buoyancy is so much easier on your brain than the gravity. So she kind of encouraged me more, in a sense, to work in the pool as much as I possibly can. And she talked about some breathing. If you want to talk about it, the breathing part.
The breathing is so amazing. So as we're shutting down more, and at 77, my body's moving in the same direction everybody else is. Some people go, well, I don't feel anything here, so it doesn't move or anything, but at least it doesn't hurt. And I'm like, I don't know how to tell you this, but that could be called rigor mortis. Are you okay with like part of your body being dead already? So the best thing for our entire system, every part of our system, is oxygen and breath. And when the earth was like the greenest and the blooming the most, the oxygen was about 37%. And now most cities and most places, it's like between 14 and 18%. But everyone's being deprived. Everybody's being, it's not deliberate, I don't think, could be. Because don't have a lot of faith in the cabal giving us good things, but anyway, that's another matter. But the thing is that if you breathe under the water and if you breathe like you're running, so if you're running, you're breathing like that, you go into the water, don't move your body at all, just keep your head above and breathe like that. You will energize your body so much that you will go into something called tetany. And that's where your hands start curling up, and then your arms might come in and your legs might come in. You like go into the fetal position. It's not comfortable. As soon as you start going into tetany, I say, go back to regular breathing. Your body's getting acclimated. Don't push it. Don't push it. Go back to regular breathing. And so you go back to regular breathing and you kind of unwind. Okay, now go back to the hard breathing again, you know, and in and out and in and out for about an hour. You come back a week later and try it again, you can go a lot further and you will hardly go into tetany at all. And on the third time, no tetany. Once you get to that point, then you can use snorkel and go under and actually take your head under the water and stay under the water for an hour and breathe like you are running. And the secret there is blowing out. You can see how heavy I'm deliberately, intentionally blowing out. That is the secret. And it will make a huge difference for your body because the whole body gets energized with all that oxygen.
With her mentioning that, I ordered a new mask for the pool. It's a full face one.
Yeah.
With a snorkel on top.
Oh, good.
Yeah. There's a got adapter that you can run a long hose. So if you're going down deep, you still can't get air. I'll say it works. I ordered it last week, so I'm gonna try it out. So I'm gonna see what they can do.
I also sent Bob the CD. It's called Sagittarius, and the breath work is on there. It's a beautiful song that is in the background, but if you just breathe with how the performer is breathing, yeah, you will. It makes it really easy and fun to do it. But I don't want to get in trouble for breaking any rules on music. So I thought I'd just send it to Bob and let him break all the rules on music.
He's good at that.
By the way, she said Bob, not Bobby. Bob. It's a.
But even if you don't use the breath work and everything, if you're in a pool and you can just walk, it's going to be nourishing you and helping you. But you can add a lot of dynamics to it if you introduce breath work to it.
What type of patients do you work with mainly?
What kind of patients?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as far as like Parkinson's, I had this one old man come, and I mean, at the time I was younger. He was 74 and he had been a judge his whole life. And his wife had gone through Auschwitz. I mean, the family had just, and he had been military, so that's how I met her when he was in Germany. Anyway, beautiful, wonderful people. But he could barely talk anymore, and he came in a wheelchair. He couldn't walk at all. And his wife told me he loved swimming, and he could do the whole pool underwater, this big Highlands pool that we had here in St. Louis. He would do all that underwater. I said, well, that's amazing, but you know, he's been really compromised by this Parkinson's by now. So he can't do the same things he used to do. She said, well, he watched your video and he saw the people go under the water and he wants to go under the water. I said, well, we don't do that on the first time. We usually do like 3 times Watsu, and then we can start the underwater work. And he looked at me and like growled and went, under the water. Yes, sir, we'll go under the water. So I got him in the water and I dropped him under, and it's called kissing the water. So you just let the mouth barely go under the water. This is a way to introduce them to underwater work. So I did that, and he comes up, and I said to his wife, can you explain to him, this is part of how much he's been compromised. I think we're going to have a problem doing underwater work. She said, he wants to do it again. Okay. So we kept doing that the whole first appointment, him coming up and, you know, spitting up and coughing and everything. And he made an appointment for the following week, and he said more. So okay. Each time we did it, he could stay under the water longer. He was happier. He wasn't spitting up anymore. He came to me every single week for 7 years,
Wow.
right until he got pneumonia and died. But if he had company, he forced them to come with him to see his performance in the water. He never, ever missed an appointment. And finally, I would say after about 6 months of working with him, he was staying under the water for 30 seconds. I could string different moves under it and everything. It's a dance, you know. He loved it so much. And I said to his wife, so how much is he changing? What difference do you see with him? She said, well, he's still stuck in the wheelchair and he still can't talk. But she said when he was a young man, he used to be a really funny guy and he always had a good attitude. And that's been gone for a long time. And she said, but you're bringing it back. We're seeing it again and he's fun to have around. Now, what is that worth? What is that worth, you know?
But that's worth a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've worked with the whole gamut, you know, cerebral palsy, MS. The people with MS will be really regular. But I also made a discovery. My pool was down for about 2 weeks and I had this woman coming in 2 hours out in the country. And she said, well, I don't want to miss work. And just because your pool's down, is there anything else we can do? And I said, well, I have this new machine and I do deep lymphatic drainage cupping on you. So let's see how that works. And so we did that on her and she came back and said, that's all I want from here on out. That was even bigger and more than the water work. But I had been doing water work on her for like 6 years. So I think she was well prepared to go to the next level of cleansing and detoxifying.
I was reading a lot on stuff you sent me about that. Also, I found a couple of places down close to the ocean that offer the same stuff. So something to look into down the road. You know,
Have you, I don't know if it's even possible, but your swimming pool is probably what I'm getting at is, have you ever tried your tea machine in the water?
Do I try my chi machine in the water?
That machine you were talking about, the Russian.
Oh, the
vibrating?
lymphatic drain. No, you couldn't do that. I mean, see,
Could you
well, with
put
the
it
water,
up-
you got to worry about rusting and all that, you know. I
No,
mean,
I meant put it under the pool itself, so it
the
isn't
pool
in
tarp.
the water. You know what I mean? I was just wondering if they ever even tried that. Has anybody built one of those seamless?
I see what you
exercise
talk
something like
about.
that?
It's like she has the above ground pool, so you can slide underneath the bottom of the pool.
When the pool was empty. Or
Yeah.
have you ever read research where they do it in the pool? Or made the machine out of stainless
I
steel?
have to tell you, I am sorry to say this, America is so backward when it comes to using water to its fullness. You know, during the World Fair, I mean, Missouri and especially St. Louis has amazing mineral water, unlike mineral water that's in other places in the country. And Roosevelt used to come here regularly and get in our water because it helped his legs so much. But then, you know, once they came up with the polio vaccine and everything, gone. Nobody uses the water anymore. And it's a shame because it does heal the body in very different ways than a vaccine.
That's part of the reason why my excitement for Kathleen, because there might be a different avenue for us to enjoy life better by accessing the pool or using water. My thoughts are other avenues out there for us to explore.
Yes.
Possibly.
Yes.
So
And if you use like the T-zone and the water, oh my goodness, you've got like the perfect combo, because that way you're still using gravity to keep your body strong, but the water to deeply get moved. Oh, I know when I was telling you about the cranial sacral. So normally when I'm working on people on the table and I know that this muscle is all crammed up here and locked up. Okay, and I'm pushing it the other direction. Push, pull. We do this little dance, so push, pull, push, pull. And finally it'll start resting out a little further, but not where it used to be. It's a job. We're going to get there, but it'll take a while. If I work on people in the water and I find a place that's jammed up and I start kind of pushing it out the direction I want it to go, the body goes, oh, we used to rest out there, didn't we? Oh, no problem. Boom. It would go there and it would hold. You don't get that on the table. You just don't get that kind of response on the table. So the water is magical for both massage and for a lot of other things.
But Kathleen, do you have other people helping you at the aquatic center?
Well, I did train about 30 different people on all of this over the years. And especially when I was teaching the classes, I had a nice big pool and they finally agreed to run the water up to 92 degrees. We first started working, it was 88, and it was way too cold and everybody was miserable. But finally the Arthritis Foundation, everybody changed to 92, and that's more, especially if you're moving, you know, it's okay. If you're just sleeping in somebody's arms, you need it like 95 or 96 because you'll get too cold. But anyway, I did start training people, but because it's such a foreign concept in this culture, I can't charge what is fair and right to charge. And when people thought they were going to help me and I hardly could pay them anything, everybody went away. I mean, our culture is so wrapped around money, 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 that honey, 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 you're not going to get very far if you're not speaking that language. And we're not for profit. And just to give you, all of a sudden things are going to the next level, and it's a little like shocking to me. But someone gave me this chamber, it's called a Hackett, and it comes from China. And you get ozone and oxygen and the Rife frequencies and the steam and the far infrared. You get all of that in a 30-minute treatment with a lot of oxygen and ozone. It's profound. But it's also a new concept in America. But it's a $40,000 machine that someone gifted to me because they bought it and found it was just too much to bother with. And I can't keep people out of it because they're really feeling the difference. And I think, well, I think that's God's stamp. Keep going, you know. And then a good friend of mine, a really good friend of mine who was a homeopathic doctor, she died a month ago. And her brother called me over the weekend and said, Linda has so much stuff that nobody knows what it is. And he said, I want to donate it all to you. And then you can give me a slip that I can use on my taxes at the end of the year. And I went over yesterday, spent 5 hours emptying stuff out, and there was still a lot there. And I'm probably going to have to give him a $60,000 donation receipt for everything that he's given to me. I don't even know where I'm going to put everything right now, but I also feel like, are you trying to tell me, God, that it's not about money, it's about doing good work, and then I keep being provided with more amazing things to do good work?
It is that good work.
Yeah,
So
And my CPA said, well, something about, well, you wouldn't do this if you didn't make money at it. And I said, my whole family has been about mission. We've been a military family 58 years. We've served in every war. I have a grandson that's on his way over to Beirut right now. I said, if you live based on money, your orientation for life is way different than someone that's living for mission. And we live about our mission. And I could tell she wouldn't talk to me anymore. Get out of here. So that's the way it goes sometimes. Maybe when she gets older and grows up, she'll understand.
this is the mask I ordered here for going to the pool. So I'll let everybody know how it works.
Wow.
It covers the whole face. You can't see it with the picture, but the circles are on top. So it's supposedly something that I can try to use underwater. So I'll let everybody know. Kathleen, I'll let you know also. How's it going?
Yeah, I would love. How much did that cost?
About $40. There's different levels.
Uh-huh.
I buy a lot of stuff on Amazon, so I'm first name basis, and I get good prices from them.
Super
anyway.
duper. I like that. It almost looks like a machine you could sit in.
I hope so. if you don't hear from me again, it didn't work. So sorry,
No.
guys.
But you have lots of options, you know?
Well, true.
I mean, just the snorkel is, well, if you're going to use only a snorkel, you got to have nose plugs on because your nose will fill up with water and that won't be fun.
Well, this one here, it shows the plugs up your nose. The whole thing covers your whole face. So you breathe right there. Everything comes around ear-wise.
Yeah.
So I'll see how it works. But again, thank you for everything, Kathleen.
You are very, very welcome. And does anybody else have questions or comments?
I have a question, Kathleen. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yes.
I missed the very first part of your talk, which I will watch on the video when Susan sends us that. But I wanted to ask, are any of the schools that are teaching physical therapy, including some of the therapies that you have just talked about? There are several schools and universities around the country, and I didn't know if you have a way to find out if they're using any of those. Some of them certainly seem a little bit more current therapies than what some of the physical therapists had been using. Are they starting to incorporate some of these other therapies?
Well, to kind of give you an idea of how stuck we are, the man who created this, Harold Dahl, he created it in 1981. It became a big thing in California. Even for a while, insurance companies were paying for Watsus and things like that. We just knew in time it would be fine. No, he died. The school was sold. I was on the board for 9 years and we struggled to make it work, and it never did. So really, this woman brought her 89-year-old mother in the other day to walk in my pool. And she said, I called all these different doctors and all these different PTs and said, where is there a warm water pool and where can my mother walk? And they said, nowhere. We don't have anything like that in St. Louis. Look at how big St. Louis is. And look at the amazing mineral water we have in a big fat zero. And it really breaks my heart. I'm still kind of hoping that somebody will get the hint, and I don't know anything. So the places where I was trained, where I went, they're all closed. That's all I know. It's too bad.
So it seems like one of our major contacts in the medical arena is Dr. Christopher Gomez, who has a very active research group looking at genetics issues.
Yes.
And why wouldn't somebody who I'm going to say he has international clout, right? Because although he himself, his research group is looking at genetic issues, he certainly has, he and the National Ataxia Foundation certainly seem like a good place to use a drill to kind of drill some other ideas, or at least experimenting with some of these kind of therapies. We've heard speakers that were sponsored by the NAF meeting that talk about the importance of physical therapy, physical conditioning, being able to recreationally do things like canoeing, kayaking, hiking, etc. It just seems like it would fall so beautifully into that strategy.
It's really a dilemma because like the Brazil, Europe, Asia, Russia, anywhere that I can think of, China, they have extensive training in aquatic therapies and aquatic, modalities for healing. And you have to have a lot of education to be certified to do that. We have nothing in America. We have no recognition of it at all. Like, how can we be so backward? It just, and especially, well, most of the people that ever got trained in Watsu, they practice in Las Vegas. One person they'd see maybe once a year when they came through on a vacation, and it was a fling thing, got a Watsu. See, mine was all therapy. I work with all these people all the time that had chronic conditions. As far as I know, I'm the only one in the world that has seen the progression of using all this, or I should say in America, because nobody in America does it.
Well, maybe we're the group to be your missionaries. Who knows?
That would be great. I would be very pleased about that.
It doesn't, in this country, it doesn't necessarily It's just, oh boy, I lost the thought now. This country is backwards in a lot of ways because of the political system we have.
Yes.
It's very restrictive, and a doctor trying to practice offline medication, and if something happens, he is so liable for a lawsuit. And if you're a doctor and you spend 12 to 15 years of your life getting an education, do you want to risk it?
That's right.
And risk your career and your livelihood on trying to do an unrecognized study? They don't want to do it. I can't say as though I blame them either. So, and you try to get a study and a grant from the government would be probably difficult too, because the people who are doing studies on every other thing that they've managed would probably block you. It's just not medical. It's political. It's money.
It's everything.
It's everything. Yeah.
But I will tell you, the National Institutes of Health now have a whole division for complementary and alternative therapies.
Before I came on this morning, my daughter, she was a medical engineer forever and made all the tools that doctors use to put in bodies and everything. And she wants to do research on a higher level. So she has to be registered or licensed to touch, which she's not. She's only a medical engineer. So now she's in nurses training. And she said, Mom, don't say one word about alternative. You mention alternative, they will never run your video. No one will ever see it. Yeah. And
good thing to keep in mind.
Pardon me?
Good to
That's why you say complementary as opposed to alternative.
Right. Yes. And she wants to take the video that we're doing right now, and she wants to show it to her nursing school so that they can play it for the students. But she said, you have to watch your language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had both my children 22 years ago. We did home birth.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not acceptable. I don't know if it's going any better now.
No, it's worse.
It's worse, yeah. And
because I did a home birth, I did a water birth in a hospital in St. Louis about 10 years ago, and they collapsed all that right after that and said they weren't going to do it anymore. It's too costly. It's too risky. It's the risk factor that they're worried about.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's the risk factor or the lawsuit factor.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And my ex-wife studied and is an acupuncturist, Chinese herbalist, and when she fills out insurance forms, because I don't know if they're constantly trying to eliminate it, but the insurance trying to get the money you're supposed to get from the insurance was ridiculous too. So I don't know how she's doing it as a business, but I watched and know people in that business that struggle for years trying to get acknowledged, and they can't. It's just the old boys are keeping it all under wraps, I guess. I'm not sure.
That's why I made this a not-for-profit. People can do trade with me or barter. I need help with a lot of things because I'm a one-man show, and so I'm happy to do that. The only way I'm still functioning.
The IRS doesn't like barter, though.
Oh, you can't say that either. No. Or tips or donate. Oh, no.
So it's just a medical society. It's political,
Yeah.
Well, Kathleen, I just want to thank you for your presentation today. We usually keep this meeting for about an hour or so, just to let you know. But I wanted to thank everybody, the new people that have showed up. And I don't remember, David, have you been on this chat before? I want to welcome you here. And I know some other people. Let me see, I know Jim I just want to welcome you here, Robert's brother. Let me see who else. And then Rosie's sister, I believe, Chevy, is on. And next Monday, we're going to have another session of Ataxia families, generations, and Rosie's going to be speaking about her family. And I think there's going to be one other person next Monday too that's going to talk about her family. So, you know, all these, you know, stories about talking about family histories of generations of ataxia in their families has been really therapeutic for me and for everybody else who's in this room too. So it's been really exciting to hear all that. And I just want to thank Robert for inviting your cousin, Kathleen.
Well, it's an honor to come and be here.
Yes.
And if I can help in any other way later, just let me know. But I will send you the material today that you can share. Yeah.
That sounds great. Great. And I know there was one thing, I went to your website, Kathleen. I was really interested in a therapeutic bath.
Yes.
Or detox, I'm sorry,
yeah, detoxifying bath. That is the best place in the world to start because it does, if you use 3 pounds of Epsom salt, which sounds extreme, but it really isn't. I mean, it just completely melts in the water. And so that'll make your cells dilate very well. And then you use the baking soda, which has a 10 pH. So if you've got any kind of diseases, it's throwing your pH off. And most people with disease are like 4.8 to maybe 5 point something. And we should ideally be like at 7.2. Well, baking soda is a 10 pH. Hallelujah. The body goes crazy with that much pH being offered because the body, if you're laying in the water, the body's like, oh, we think the stuff outside the body might be better than what we have in here. Dump, dump, dump. Because a lot of the toxins are stored in our fat cells that are right under our skin. And then if you've got hydrogen peroxide in there, a quart of hydrogen, your body gets oxygen, desperately needed oxygen. So most people who really are suffering in pain and misery will try to do it like 3 times a week. And I recommend that they do that for 40 minutes just soaking, and then all the other stuff starts happening. So you start sweating and you start really releasing, and then go to bed because your body's pooped. You've worked hard and it really did work for you. And I know we're out of time.
That's okay. I'm going to share your website to the group. So just hang on. Let me see. See, I've got the website right here. Let me see somewhere. Oh, here it is. Okay, 1 second.
I think you put it in one of your emails.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's right. I sent an email, to everybody with Kathleen's website. So you can go to that and check it out. There's a 10-minute presentation that Kathleen did that was very helpful and very informative. I really enjoyed it. And that's when I learned about the bath that I like to try. And you said that taking the bath 3 times a week. And then I think 40 minutes altogether. So, that's kind of interesting. So it's a lot of
gotta keep adding hot water because it's going to get cool. So you let a little out, then you add more hot water, and that's the only thing that's kind of a nuisance. But you will feel so much. You'll get out, and you'll just be sweating like a pig. And you'll try to wipe yourself off, and you're still sweating like a pig. So then you just lay down and rest for a little bit, and then go to bed for the night.
Kathleen, is the recipe for the bath in your paper?
Is the what?
Is the recipe for the therapeutic bath?
It is. Well, and it's especially in the talk that I'm giving, the introduction talk. They've actually wrote it on the screen, so it makes it easy for you to take notes from it. But yeah. And also the new machine that I was given, the $40,000 machine, is also in my articles. It's the Hocket. And I would really recommend you look at that because that's the whole premise of that is going to take off like nobody's business. They're beginning to do this in Mexico and having amazing results. And they're only 1/3 of the price that they're charging in Florida for doing something similar.
How do you spell that?
It's HOCATT. And you can see videos on it and everything on, it won't be on my site, but other sites.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Well, this is to everybody's good health and movement and joyful spirit.
Thank you. Thank you
Amen.
very much.
I agree.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Kathleen.
Okay, and then, well, I just want to say next week, Robert gave me some jokes, attorney jokes and blonde jokes. So be prepared.
Believe that?
Listen to those. Yeah, they're funny. Today, it was today with Kathleen's presentation. So I didn't have time to, with those jokes, but those jokes really helped my speech a lot. It really helped because it's, yeah. So that I enjoyed. That's why I like doing that. And also, listening to jokes is, the best medicine to this, laughter. So, yeah. So
Just so you know, Robert's been like that ever since we called him Bobby. He's always been the jokester in the family. It does bring a lot of humor at times of need. So I'm glad to see you haven't deteriorated the Dean name too bad, Bob.
Yeah. I tried to.
Is it your fault? Did you smack him in the head too hard when he was a kid?
They did, yes. Him and the old brothers, I was like a ball bounced around.
Do you call him Jimmy?
No, he's James Dean.
James Dean, that's Jimmy Dean.
Oh, cool.
So he's James is still alive.
Yeah. Okay.
And we were all Jimmy or Tommy or Bobby or, we're all Bible names, but when you're a kid, they get shortened up or lengthened to the funny name.
The worst thing about it, I'll be right in the middle of baseball again, about ready to catch a flag, and he would yell out, "Bobby Joe." I look at balls land.
All right, well, okay, well, we're gonna sign off now, but I just want to thank everybody that came today. It was a good showing today. So
It was
Yeah.
wonderful.
All right.
Really appreciate it, Kathleen.
Thank you.
thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Right.
Thank you,
Everybody.
Kathleen.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Speak.
Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.